If you're looking to buy a compact size luxury saloon, then a Mercedes Benz C-Class is one of the vehicles that will naturally walk into your list. So in that regard, today I'm honored to be sitting inside the 2015 Mercedes Benz C250, and it belongs to the C-Class family of Mercedes, and it's a vehicle that you're going to be considering if you want something like a BMW 3 Series, and that is also the AUDI A4. But I'm going to be very specific because this is the W205 Mercedes Benz C-Class, and it is what came after the W204. So the particular rivals of this vehicle are going to be the BMW 3 Series F30, and then there is also the Audi A4 B9. So I'm going to be honest again because I'm a massive fan of BMW and I really like the F30 3 Series. But this particular vehicle has stolen my heart and my mind for quite a long time. I'm going to be letting you know all that in this particular video. So this being the W205, it's all fresh, it has been refreshed, the entire thing has been redesigned. Inside out, it's all new, the cabin is wonderful, better than ever before, and even the tech that we have in this thing, not something that you're going to be playing around with. So let's get going already, and we're going to start with the trims that these vehicles actually come with, because guys tend to ask, what is the difference between a C180 and maybe a C250 or a C200? And the C180 is the base model of this particular vehicle. So if you're going to buy a C180, you're going to get a 1.6 liter turbocharged petrol engine. It is going to give you about 130 horsepower. And it's about the same engine that you'll get in a Mercedes Benz GL180 or the A180. And that engine is tied to a 7-speed automatic transmission gearbox. And then you can go to the Mercedes Benz C200. A C200, instead of having the 1.6, uses a 2-liter turbocharged petrol engine that makes about 184 horsepower. And it runs on the same 7-speed automatic transmission gearbox. And then if you feel like that is slightly underpowered, you can always come to the C250. A C250 is actually based on the W212 Mercedes Benz E-Class, based on the engine and the gearbox specs, because if you're going to buy a W212 E-Class, you're going to get a 2000cc turbocharged petrol engine with about 208 horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque. And this one being a C250, those are the exact numbers that you're going to get in this particular vehicle as well. So this is a rather serious vehicle because it has a lot of specs that you might not get in the other vehicles. For example, if you're going to buy a C180 or a C200, you're not guaranteed to get maybe a panoramic sunroof and those kinds of things, but you can always get one that the previous owner might have gone for the full spec, and that will be very nice and a plus on your side. But this particular one, we are lucky that we have this nice panoramic sunroof. The cabin is wonderful, and let's start by talking about the cabin itself. So as far as the cabin goes, you're going to start from this side all the way to the other side, and the first thing I have to speak about has to be the quality of materials inside this particular vehicle, because if you even look here, this wood looks way sharp and admirable, and even the red leather, the stitching, wonderful job Mercedes. And if you come down here, you'll actually notice that have controls for the seats, so you can actually adjust the position of your seats to your preferred position. And then they also have memory functionality, so they can always remember, maybe if you prefer position 1 and you set it there, when you come to the vehicle next time, just press 1 and the seat will move to your preferred position. And then there is this as well, they have heating functionality. And then there is a speaker there that is one of the multiple speakers for the Burmester Premium Surround Sound System, and that is one of the best sound systems you're going to get in a car these days. And there is something about Mercedes always trying to transfer functions from the most expensive ones down to the smaller ones. And if you buy an S-Class today, the W222, you're going to get a Burmester Premium Surround Sound System. The amount of watts you get might be different, but doesn't matter, you still have a Burmester Premium Surround Sound System in your C-Class, and that should be it for you. And then moving over to the steering wheel, this vehicle is the AMG line trim, so it has some sharper things than what you'll usually get in other variants of the C-Class. So for example, the steering wheel flat bottomed, we have this super nice metallic trimming running around. Then we also have this nice metallic trimmed paddle shifters, so downshift and upshift. And then if you come to this other side, you'll notice that there is this nice functionality for adjusting the position of the steering wheel, so tilt and telescopic. You have to be comfortable in a Mercedes Benz, and they're not playing around with that. And then moving over to the center console, and it has also been refreshed, very new. Even the vents, the styling, they look way better, and even the quality of materials, again, this kind of metal just adds a touch of class into the vehicle. You have this nice analog clock as well, and then you have buttons for the system that you're going to go into in a short while. And then coming down here, you have a touchpad for the system as well, so you just have to touch it and get stuff happening with the screen. And then you can actually come to the most important buttons down here, because this vehicle has an air suspension setup. So when I press it and come back, you can actually see from there the vehicle is now rising, and it will be able to take on bumps and other obstacles that might stand in its way. Then you also have the agility control, and when I press it, you can actually see different driving modes there. So maybe you can start from from eco, and the eco mode is the one that you want to use to save as much as you possibly can. And then there is a comfort that softens the suspension, the steering wheel, and the throttle response, so that you're as comfortable as the name suggests. And then you can move to the sport mode. The sport mode sort of stiffens the suspension, the steering wheel, and makes the throttle response slightly sharper than the other modes. And then there is a sport plus that basically turns off the traction control system and even the stability control, so that it's just about you, the car, and God. Then you also have individual mode, and for the individual mode, it's actually a better one, because you can actually have different aspects of the vehicle on different settings. Maybe the engine, the suspension, the steering wheel. You can maybe get the steering wheel to be on comfort, maybe change the suspension to be on sport, and the engine to be on sport plus as well. And I find that to be important, because it all depends on your driving habits. So if you know the way you drive and you want them to behave in a certain pattern, you can always use that particular mode. And then moving over for the seats, very comfortable. These are bucket styled leather seats. They are rather nice, and this being the MG line trim, they're going to hold you into place as you move around corners and bends. And then maybe you can go to the infotainment system again, just talk about the car settings or the vehicle settings, because if you press that, you can actually see our Mercedes moving, and then it will give us a number of things that we can actually do. And one of my favorite functionalities has to be about the ambient lighting functionality. So you can always play around with them, maybe choose a certain color that will illuminate the cabin as you drive, put the cabin occupants into a certain mood. Then of course you can also adjust the brightness, 5 levels. So if you want them to be bright, or you want to adjust that, you can always do that kind of stuff with your Mercedes. And then there is another interesting functionality, because if you live in an area that has a tight parking space, you have a trunk opening height restriction, so you can always adjust it to where you want it to go. So maybe you want it to go ikae chini kidogo, you can always do that, so that if you go to your parking space, you don't mess with other people's cars and property, and you'll also have enough space to maybe throw things into the back and get your day going. So I generally think this is a nice place to be spending time in. And if you're looking to buy a Mercedes Benz because you want to be comfortable, that is a C-Class, I can guarantee you that the W205 has what you're looking for. So I'm now driving the Mercedes Benz W205 C250, and what a feeling this is. And just before I get into that, I always tend to think that the way a vehicle looks actually dictates if you're going to buy it or not, because I tend to believe that if you're seen in a good looking car, guys might end up saying some good things about you. But if you're seen in a car that is not so good looking, I'm not going to use the word ugly, guys might say some other disturbing things about you. But for this particular vehicle, I think that from the time when Mercedes decided that they were going to make the changes, they went all out, and they didn't leave anything untouched. The headlights are all new, the grille is all new, the entire body kit. Like, it's a good car that you want to drive around. It's a car that you want to be seen in. And as far as the looks go, maybe you can tell me in the comment section what you think about this one and the rivals that might come in the forms of the BMW 3 Series and the Audi A4. And moving over to performance, there is another aspect where this vehicle actually makes a lot of sense, because the engine we have here is a 2000cc turbocharged petrol engine that makes 208 horsepower and it has 350 newton meters of torque. And then it's actually the same thing that you're going to be getting. Maybe if you're driving an E-Class, the W205 250, you're going to be getting the same engine with the same numbers. And the fact that it actually drives a bigger vehicle actually means that coming down to the smaller vehicle, it's always convincing to drive. And every time you put your foot down, like I'm going to do right now, it's always eager to go. And I'm not going to find a fault at any given point about this engine, because I've driven this vehicle and it has actually been very good so far. And the gearbox on the other side, we have the 7-speed 7G-tronic transmission, another popular Mercedes gearbox that has been around for a long time. The same gearbox is actually used in the E-Class. If you get maybe even the ML, you'll get the same gearbox, and it has been around for a long time. But there tends to be some kind of confusion when it comes to this vehicle's transmission, because if you actually follow some adverts, you'll actually realize that some guys say that it has an G-tronic transmission, which is a 9-speed automatic transmission. But if you actually drive it at this particular point, the early versions of this vehicle, like the one I'm driving right now, they have the 7-speed 7G-tronic transmission. But a time will come when they'll start coming with the 9-speed transmissions, and I'm actually eager and looking forward to that. But as far as the going is, it's a good thing to drive. The steering wheel is properly balanced, doesn't feel vague at any given point. The vehicle is confident on the road, feels good at attacking bends. Every time you're behind someone, always feel like you are in good control of the vehicle. There is some minimal noise coming into the cabin. It's at a rather low level. It's a level that you can live with, but the vehicle is generally properly insulated, and it actually feels comfortable on all fronts. So whether you want to drive it or whether you want to be driven, it's a vehicle that you can actually look up to. And then there is the bit on safety. As far as safety goes, Mercedes doesn't play around, obviously, and in that regard, this vehicle has the Distronic Plus cruise control system, which is adaptive, and it has the lane keep assist functionality. So when you're going to veer off your lane, the vehicle will let you know that you're about to get off your lane, and there is some vibration that will come in the steering wheel to alert you that you're about to veer off your lane. And then if you look at the side mirrors, you'll actually notice that there is like a small triangle over there. That is for the blind spot monitoring system. So every time you're trying to maybe overtake and there is someone in your blind spots, the vehicle will alert you and let you know that it is not safe to make that particular move. And then the same Distronic system will actually keep you a safe distance from the vehicle that is in front of you. So maybe if you want to stay maybe 10 meters from that guy, maybe 10 or 20, you can always do that, and the vehicle will keep you that distance from him. And then there are other traditional safety measures. Of course, we have the traditional dual front airbags, and then it also has side-mounted curtain airbags. So maybe if you get involved in a head-on collision or even a T-bone collision where someone hits you from the sides, you can be guaranteed that it will deploy some airbags that will try to keep you and your loved ones safe. And at this given point, the question you might want to ask is this vehicle really worth the money? And from what I've seen so far, I'm actually convinced about the vehicle, because the engine is decent, the power numbers I'm getting, they are good enough, the gearbox, perfect. And if you look at the tech features that I'm getting in this particular vehicle, most of them are housed inside this particular system that houses the Mercedes Command Infotainment system. I mean, you look at all those, and maybe even the air suspension functionality, the fact that you can see a bump, raise the vehicle, be able to take on obstacles like bumps and other harsh obstacles. Those are some things that you don't take for granted. The fact that I also have a panoramic sunroof over my head, and the cabin, what I've seen so far, I think if you were to compare this vehicle with the rivals that are coming, maybe a BMW 3 Series, you're going to realize that a BMW 3 Series might be cheaper, and even the Audi A4, they might be cheaper, but you're not going to get most of the specs that you're going to get in this particular vehicle. And it is worth noting that as much as you're getting them here, you're not going to get them in all other C-Class models. For example, you can get a C200 with air suspension, you can get one without the air suspension setup, and that is how it actually works, because when these vehicles are new, guys buy them, and they sort of add some preferred specs that they might want to get. So it actually depends on what you're going for. If you're lucky, you might get some of these systems. If you're unlucky, you might get some and miss out on some. So what would be my verdict on this particular vehicle? If you're looking to buy a compact size luxury saloon, one that is decent on performance, comfort aspects, safety, the Mercedes Benz C-Class W205 is a vehicle that you should put up there in your list. So if you're looking to buy a similar vehicle, you might be looking at about 4.4 million shillings, and that is not a small amount of money, but you're going to be getting value for your money. I'm actually impressed. I'm in love with the vehicle. This is one of my favorite vehicles, and you can let me know what you think about this particular vehicle in the comment section as well, and we'll be looking forward to interacting with you.